kind of a solitude.
Hello, I am Panos Kotzathanasis, and this is ASEAN Movie Pulse Interviews. Today I'm here with Goran Topalovic. How are you, Goran?
Doing well, thank you. How are you, Panos?
I'm very fine, thank you. So, to begin this whole thing, okay, by the way, this is a very impressive background you have there. I should work on that at some point. Okay. All right.
I put this especially for you. I just made the background just for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, so you have been in the industry, let's say, for more than 20 years. What would you say are the biggest changes you have experienced in East Asian cinema, let's say, and maybe in cinema in general?
Well, I would say, because, when we started, at Subway Cinema, we started screening Asian popular films. At the time, there wasn't so much appreciation, among the, mainstream for Asian popular entertainment. And, there weren't that many venues that were really taking those films seriously or showcasing them as part of their programs and retrospectives, right? So there was just kind of delegated to the kind of the art house. And I think really the biggest change that I've seen over the years is that how accessible Asian popular cinema is now, and how much, especially young people are familiar with it. And certainly Parasite getting an Oscar was a big boost, right? But I think that has been the change, just the availability, accessibility, familiarity, and also the established cultural institutions have also started taking popular entertainment seriously and featuring films in their programs, right? So, I mean, to me, even if you look at the new Korean cinema movement, right, it's really genre cinema. If you look at Johnny To. So we were one among the first to have a Johnny To retrospective, right? Back in 2000, yeah, that was in 2000 if my memory serves me right. So, so I think that's a positive change, and it took a lot of effort and time to get to that point, right? And efforts of programmers such as ourselves, as well as other fans and distributors who believed in these films.
Okay, a number of things have changed, but okay, martial arts movies have remained popular for decades now, right? Why do you think that is? Still, those old movies are very popular. Why do you think that?
Well, I mean, it's a universal language, right? You don't need to understand the actual language that's being used in a movie to appreciate the performance aspects. It's all about staging the action and the movement. It's visceral. You feel immediate response. You're drawn to it, right? It's a spectacle. It's a performance. It's acrobatics. It's skill. You can show martial arts movie anywhere in the world, and people will appreciate it. I don't feel there's it's yeah. to me, it's really something that transcends all cultural barriers and all divisions.
To be a bit more personal, why do you like this martial arts movies?
So when I was growing up in Yugoslavia, and of course seeing Bruce Lee's movies and seeing Jackie Chan's movies for the first time, and Sammo Hung, it just opened up a whole new world to me that I didn't know existed, right? So it's just it had the same effect on me that let's say Star Wars had on a lot of people, right? So and it really got me interested in not just cinema, but also in martial arts and the philosophies and behind the movies, right? Buddhism and Zen, and so it has a lot of depth to it, right? So yes, we say, okay, yeah, you have all this action and violence, right? But there's more behind it. Like, if you look deeper into it, there's certain universal themes that are being explored, that there's certain philosophies about life and existence that you can take from. I mean, even, let's say a touch of Zen is a perfect example, right? It's really, it's a mixture of different genres, right? You have a little bit of a ghost story, you have a little bit of a mystery, you even have a romance, but ultimately it's about enlightenment and transcendence. And that's that little touch of Zen, something that's larger than just our human existence, right?
And since you mentioned King Hu, what do you feel he has brought to the martial arts films? Because for me, it's like there is an era before King Hu and after King Hu. He really reinvigorated the genre as it was in Shaw Brothers style, let's say.
Right. So I would say that King Hu was innovator in many ways, right? So he was the first one to take elements of Beijing opera, which he loved as a child, right? He was born and grew up in Beijing. So he took those elements and put them in his movies in terms of how he approach staging and having the action choreographed, to how it was all filmed and the rhythm and the music and the editing, right? So and so that really added a whole new flavor to the martial arts movies. So it's important to know that his action is not really based on kind of kung fu techniques so much as it is really based on the type of Beijing opera kind of stage fighting.
Okay.
So in his movies, you just really see set pieces that are just, so you can see that direct correlation between the stage performances. So movies feel a little bit theatrical to some extent, right? And the characters, he's not so much concerned with developing the characters. They're already defined as characters. They're representation of certain forces of good and evil already, right? So, and also another innovation is this: he took the figure of heroic female knight errant that existed in literary tradition for hundreds of years, and he refashioned it for modern contemporary audiences. And that definition of a female knight errant has then influenced successive generations. I mean, even you look at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's the same thing that King Hu has been doing, right? So. And was also known as someone who has nurtured and supported female actresses, right? So you see how, if you look at Cheng Pei Pei and Come Drink With Me, if you look at Xu Fang and Touch of Zen and others, if you look at Paulie Sheng in Dragon Inn, if you look at, we have Angela Mao in The Fate of Li Khan, right? So he was a great director of actresses. So those are, I think, and another thing is he was also important for, I think, the development of the Taiwanese film industry, in the sense that the Dragon Inn was a Taiwanese production union film, and it made so much money that then allowed union film to grow and to increase the production and just churn out a lot of these other wuxia movies. King Hu was sort of the chief of production for union film, and he kind of set the house style. So that was also another kind of contribution. But he also influenced a lot of other filmmakers. I think if people are able to see the King of Wuxia documentary, and if they hear from John Woo and Choi Hark and Sammo Hong, how much influence King Hu and working with Hu had on them and their careers. I think that's also another point to make.
And but can you tell me a bit about the program this year? How did you came up with the particular movies? Why did you choose them, let's say?
Yes. So how this program came about actually is Our last Oslo Kung Fu Fest was in 2001. No, sorry, 2021. It was in 2021. And we did Joseph Kua retrospective.
Mhm.
So we were hoping to kind of show other sides of him as a filmmaker, not just for kind of martial arts movies that he's known for. So we really wanted to show the swordsman of all swordsmen. But at that time, it was not available because they were kind of they were doing the restoration, so we couldn't show it. And then once the new digital restoration was finally available, we're like, okay, so we need an excuse to show this. So, oh, well, okay, let's do Taiwan WUXIA. And, there's a King of WUXIA documentary that just came out. So it's going to be perfect. And we've never really done a focus on Taiwanese WUXIA before. And we thought it was just kind of good timing, and kind of introduce these films to younger audiences. So in terms of the selection, we also wanted to, we didn't want to show too much of King Hu because we also wanted it to be balanced with other productions, wuxia productions for that time period. And we also, we learn about some of the early Taiwanese language wuxia pictures in black and white that we really wanted to showcase, especially The Vengeance of the Phoenix Sisters, which for us, we feel it's kind of a discovery of the festival. And it was also made, I think, in 1967. So, and then we also found a kind of rarely seen wuxia film that was produced in the 1980s, with Bridget Lin.
Mhm.
And we're like, wow, this, we got to show this. We're all big fans of Bridget Lin. So, I mean, that's sort of how it came about. And then we were, debating how many movies to really show, and we didn't want to exhaust the audience, right? So we felt that having kind of 2 weekends would be optimal. So it's going to be a Metrograph, kicks off on April 21st, that weekend, 21st to 23rd, and then it continues April 29th through 30th. So there's going to be a total of 12 films screened. In addition to that, there will be 3 movies that are going to be available online only through Metrograph at Home, which is Metrograph's SVOD platform. So we have a total of 15 films. And half of those are all union film productions.
Mhm, mhm. And how do you feel that Hu Xiaoshen, the assassin, compares to these films of the old, let's say? Because the opinions about that film were split, like a lot of people don't consider it a martial arts film, not a wuxia or something like that. What is your opinion about The Assassin?
Well, I personally like it, but I also have to tell you that my taste might have kind of changed as I've gotten older. So I kind of tend to appreciate more kind of meditative and kind of more artistic type of films. But I feel that The Assassin is just gorgeous. It's just beautifully shot, and production design is incredible. And yes, there isn't a whole lot of action, but sort of the action is, in the emotions and in the feelings and the things that are not necessarily expressed openly, right? And then it kind of, happens, right? So, and when it does happen, I feel that action feels more effective and more impactful,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I personally really like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it does belong to the wuxia tradition. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And can you tell me a bit about Subway Cinema? What is the situation with the whole thing now?
Yeah, so currently Subway Cinema is, Grady Hendrix, Paul Kazee, and myself. And, our focus these days is primarily on retrospective type of programming, right? So we're no longer involved with the Unique Asian Film Festival. There's a separate organization that currently runs it. I think it's the New York Asian Film Foundation, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically, the three of us, we were at the point in our lives where, the festival was just too big to handle. We just couldn't manage it. And, we decided to, because none of us does it full time, right? And that's always been like a hobby of ours, and it just kind of gotten out of control. but we still like Asian cinema and we still like doing events. So for us, it's kind of more manageable to do smaller events once in a while. And I think the value of doing retrospectives is to introduce younger generation to these great classics of Asian genre cinema.
And how is your cooperation with Metrograph in general? How would you describe that?
So there are, presenting partner for this edition of the festival, it's a great relationship. We have really good relationships with a lot of venues in New York, and sometimes, how do we make a decision who we're going to work with? It's really a matter of timing. Sometimes, like when who's available, who's interested to work with us or partner with us, right? So we always look for partner venues for these events, right? Because we're a skeleton crew now, right? So we can't really do all these things in terms of managing things at the theater and taking care of ticket sales and things like that, right? So it's just our focus is kind of programming, booking films, and having and then working with them as a great publicist, right? So so we all have day jobs. I have a family. There's only so many hours in a day, but we still like Asian cinema, and we try to do as much as we can, and just focuses on retrospective programming, special screenings, and kind of having fun with it, because we want to have fun with it, and we want the audience to have fun with us together.
And can you tell me a bit about the audience in the old school Kung Fu Festival? What is the demographics, let's say, usually?
So it's really hard to tell now, because I think this is all after the pandemic. I think it's all new now. Like, we're all learning who is our audience now and who actually shows up at the theater, right? So I'm kind of looking forward to find that out. I don't really have an answer, right? So I think everyone who's all the movie theaters and are kind of trying to figure that out themselves. How do we get the audience back to the theaters, and who is our audience, right? Because people have gotten used to just being at home, and it's kind of easy to just watch it at home. There's not a whole lot of incentive. So but prior to the pandemic, our audience was very diverse, cutting across different age groups and demographics, which once again kind of illustrated the universal appeal of martial arts cinema.
And I guess the last question, and we have to do it a bit fast as I see. Can you tell me, how do you imagine the future of Kung Fu Film Fest? Any plans for next editions, let's say?
We haven't really thought about it, right? So it's just easy for us to someone will come up with an idea. Hey, let's do this next year. Like, oh, okay, all right, Paul, let's do it. So we don't have a five-year plan, if that's what you're asking. Not at all. It's all kind of spur of the moment, and depending on if there's some other events happening that we can kind of leverage. Like, for example, the availability of the King of WUXIA documentary was kind of perfect. Kind of catalyst to say, oh, okay, we wanted to show the Swordsman of all swordsmen, and here's the King of WUXIA documentary, so let's do Taiwan WUXIA focus. That's how it happened. There was no plan before that, right? So it's very kind of we're just very easy that way, right? So, and we just see if we can make it happen. If we can make it happen, then okay, we'll try something else.
Okay. Well, great. That's it. Thank you very much for being in Asian Movie Buzz interviews. Good luck with the festival the next few days.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity, Panos.
Okay.